Hello, my name is Christoph Foreman. This presentation is for Environmental Ethics at American Public University. Today's date is November 18th, 2018. The question posed was, are humans a part of nature or apart from nature? Humans are definitely a part of nature, yet the dominant social paradigm remains for most of society. So we behave as though we are apart from the natural world most of the time. So how do we get to this point? The dominant social paradigm places man as having dominion over all of the natural world. Many people trace the dominant social paradigm to Western philosophy, specifically Judeo-Christian views. Going back through history, Mazzoni links the teaching of Genesis 1:26-28, where God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all of the earth, and over every creepy thing that creepeth upon the earth," to the ideas held by many people that have led us to the point of exploitation of resources in the natural world where we are today. To be clear, this is not an indictment of Judeo-Christian beliefs, because there are plenty who believe that the dominant social paradigm has come from other places, and many Christians, like Pope Francis, place a high value on preserving our environment. This is simply stating what many philosophers have already stated. On the opposite side from the dominant social paradigm is deep ecology. Deep ecology is the worldview that would believe that we are fully a part of nature. Ness and Sessions are two of its largest proponents. People who believe in deep ecology think that we should live in harmony and equilibrium with nature. This is exemplified by many of the Native American beliefs and practices. An environmental fixture, Aldo Leopold's A Sand County Almanac, discusses many of the same ideas and calls for humans to be a member of their community with interdependent parts. The notion of interdependent parts is a very important idea in the understanding that the actions we take have consequences within the ecosystem, both for the positive and for the negative. At a fundamental level, this issue could be seen as a matter of intrinsic value versus instrumental value. To view humans as being apart from the natural world would be to look at things for their instrumental value. That is, to see value in nature as it can bring value to humans. Many philosophers believe that value depends on human sentiments, and therefore it is ultimately anthropocentric. In order to see man as a part of nature, you need to be able to see the intrinsic value that living things possess. According to Davidson, if something has intrinsic value, then we are morally obligated to take its existence into account when making ethical and moral decisions. As a society, we definitely are not to the point where we see that all living things have inherent value. Getting closer to that worldview will be needed as we attempt to deal with some of the large environmental problems that we face. Animals have an interesting place when thinking about the dominant social paradigm, because we tend to allow animal rights based on their proximity to humans on the evolutionary tree. We don't think twice before killing an ant, maybe hesitate a bit more with the mouse, yet would have difficulty killing a chimpanzee. Singer might think of this in terms of animal suffering and assign the ant as the least likely to suffer. The mouse would be in the middle, while the chimpanzee's suffering would look and feel the most human. Warren, meanwhile, looks at it from a different point of view and says that we can kill animals ethically as long as the reason is good. This seems to make sense going back through human history. It certainly does not seem ethically wrong for our early ancestors, who are usually described as hunter-gatherers, to hunt for and kill animals in order to eat. By stepping back and looking at the big picture, the problem is viewed most simplistically. Regardless of where the origins and roots of the problem came from, an increasingly large percentage of our cultures have become increasingly anthropocentric. There are far too many of us consuming far too many resources far too inefficiently. There are too many ways that we are causing damage to the earth to get into them all here, but just to name a few: damage from mining, especially strip mining and mountaintop removal, pollution of all kinds, whether it is water pollution from agricultural runoff or from industrial sources along the banks of our rivers, or the Great Lakes, or if it is air pollution, we are simply putting too many harmful chemicals into the very air and water that we rely on for survival. On top of that, our need to burn fossil fuels is leading to a wide array of impacts that we will talk about momentarily. Regardless of the type of damage, even if we are to look at it from a simply anthropocentric view, the damage that we are causing will find ways to harm us in the long run. The non-anthropocentric impacts. Higher population and the stress that has imparted on our agriculture has led to worsening ethical treatment of animals by the agriculture industry. What used to be family-owned farms have more and more become huge operations that worry less and less about the treatment of the animals and more about maximizing profit margins. And with the population boom, the expectation is that beef consumption is going to double by the year 2050, which will undoubtedly make the situation much worse. For anthropocentric impacts, one of the ways that it is the easiest to see how the negative impacts that we have on the world are having a negative impact on humans is through air and water pollution. The chemicals that we use for a variety of purposes find their way back to us very often through the air and water. When they get back to us, they can cause things like lung cancer and asthma and lowered IQ from air pollution. Water pollution causes nutrient loading, which leads to dead zones in our bodies of water, which reduce the productivity of our fisheries through fish kills. More direct than that, water pollution can cause vomiting and gastroenteritis or kidney problems amongst a wide array of issues. Impacts of climate change are numerous. Excess greenhouse gas emissions has been linked to increased wildfires, as we can currently see with all the issues in California right now, increase in storm intensity, increased spread of insect-borne illness, more floods, more drought, ocean acidification, which is leading to a decrease in shellfish, and coral bleaching, as the picture on the left shows. These are just the global impacts. On a more localized and regional level, many more aspects come into play, many of which we don't even understand and won't for some time. As much as other aspects show us that our view that humans have dominion over the earth is having negative impacts on us and the rest of the natural world, climate change may be the thing that shows us that we need to change our behavior. This is due to the massive amount of economic impact that is already had and the fact that the economic impact is bound to keep rising over time. A study by Toll points to the economic impact of climate change being around 1.2% of total income, and the number is projected to grow at roughly 2% per year into the future. At some point in the future, I would expect that the economic reality will sink in and the world will start to shift towards 100% renewable energy, hopefully in time to avert a catastrophe. In conclusion, humans are definitely a part of nature. We will bear the brunt of our rampant consumerism in many forms, many yet to be determined. The sooner we start living in harmony with nature, the better off we will be in the long run. The following slides have references.